If you're looking for a solid meal prep recipe, these oven-baked carnivore beef patties are a great one to have on hand. Once they're made, they store well and reheat quickly for easy meals all week. Simple ingredients, no fillers, and a great texture every time. For the patty crust, we'll be using half a cup of cold grated unsalted butter, half a cup of egg white protein powder, 3/4 of a cup of skim milk powder, or you can substitute that for whole milk powder, half a teaspoon of unrefined sea salt, 2 to 3 tablespoons of hot water, and 1 large egg plus 1 large egg yolk. For the beef filling, we'll be using 1 pound of ground beef, 1.5 tablespoons of gelatin powder, a tablespoon of bone broth powder, which is optional, 1 teaspoon of collagen powder for added structure, and half a cup of beef broth and salt to taste. We'll start by preheating the oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. In a bowl, we'll mix together the milk powder, egg white protein powder, and unrefined sea salt. I'm using skim milk powder here, but you can also use whole milk powder if you want a slightly richer crust, using the same 3/4 of a cup amount. Whole milk powder tends to brown a little faster and can make the crust a little bit more tender. Goat milk powder is another great option, and some people find it easier to digest than cow's milk. No matter which one you choose, the crust will still bake up buttery and delicious. Next, we're going to use a standard grater to grate the cold butter. This makes it easier to mix into the dry ingredients without overworking the dough. Keeping the butter cold is what helps the crust bake up tender instead of oily. If the butter starts to soften, just pop it back in the fridge for a few minutes before continuing. You can also get a more even texture in the crust when the butter is grated this way. It's a simple step, but it makes a big difference in the final result. Now that everything is ready, we're going to mix it all together. Start by blending the cold grated butter into the dry mixture. I like to use a fork and sometimes my fingertips and gently work it in until it looks crumbly. You want the butter evenly mixed through, but still nice and cold. At this point, we're going to add in 1 whole large egg. This helps bind the dough and makes it much easier to press and shape without crumbling. Mix just until the dough starts coming together. Now we'll add the hot water 1 tablespoon at a time, mixing gently after each addition. This is the step that helps the dough come together and prevents it from staying too dry and crumbly. Stop as soon as the dough holds together when you squeeze it, since adding too much water can make the dough soft and sticky, and this will cause the crust to lose shape while it's baking. Once the dough comes together, press it into a smooth ball, wrap it up, and refrigerate it for about 10 to 15 minutes so it can firm up slightly before pressing. This quick chill helps the butter stay cold, which makes the dough easier to work with. It also helps prevent sticking when you start shaping the patties. Just a short chill here is all you need, since letting it sit too long can make the dough hard and more difficult to press. While the dough is chilling, we'll move on to the beef filling. Go ahead and brown the ground beef in a skillet over medium heat until it's fully cooked. Break it up as it cooks so the filling stays nice and even. Next, add the bone broth powder, salt, and beef broth, then bring everything to a gentle simmer. This helps the flavor blend and keeps the filling moist instead of dry. Now sprinkle in the gelatin and the collagen and stir right away so that it blends smoothly. This helps thicken the filling and gives it that juicy, saucy texture once the patties are baked. Gelatin adds the gravy-like thickness, while collagen supports the texture without making it feel too firm or jiggly. Let it simmer for about 2 to 4 minutes until the filling thickens slightly and coats the meat. Once done, we'll need to let the filling cool completely before assembling the patties. And here we have our chilled dough. It should feel a little firm, but still easy to work with. We'll unwrap it and then move on to the next step. For this step, I'll be using a stainless steel dough cutter with a wooden handle. And we'll be using 8-inch unbleached parchment rounds when pressing the dough. This helps prevent sticking and makes the dough much easier to lift and fold afterwards. To press the dough into rounds, you can use a tortilla press. I love using one because it makes the process quick and gives you consistent, even circles every time. It also helps keep the dough from warming up too much while you work. Alternatively, you can use a rolling pin instead. Just roll the dough between parchment until you get an even circle and try to keep the edges from getting too thin. For this recipe, I'll be using a tortilla press. And I'll be using blue nitrile gloves as well, just to keep the warmth of my hands from softening the dough too quickly. Using the dough cutter, we'll divide the dough ball into 6 even portions. This helps all of the patties bake evenly and look consistent. If you have a kitchen scale, you can weigh them for perfect accuracy, but eyeballing it works just fine too. Once they're divided, I like to quickly roll them into little balls so it's ready for pressing. If the dough ever starts to feel a bit soft or sticky, just pop it back in the fridge for a few minutes. Keeping it cool makes the next step much easier. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see more meal prep recipes like this or more carnivore desserts. Place 1 portion of the dough between 2 sheets of parchment, then press it into 6.5 to 7-inch rounds using an 8-inch tortilla press or a rolling pin. Try not to press it too thin, especially around the edges, since that can cause it to burn in the oven. You want the dough to be even, but still sturdy enough to fold without cracking. If the parchment shifts, just reposition it and press it again. And if you notice any cracks, you can simply pinch them back together with your fingers. On this first press, the round is not quite as large as I want it to be, so I'm going to press it again until it's closer to 7 inches. A second press usually gets it to the perfect size without thinning it too much. Let me know in the comments below if you have a tortilla press at home or if you'll be using a rolling pin. Now it's time to assemble the beef patties. I popped the shells back into the fridge for a few minutes just to let them firm up before this step, as having them cool makes it much easier to peel away the parchment. You'll also want a baking sheet ready to place the patties on as you go. Peel away the top piece of parchment so that the dough is exposed. Then place about 3 tablespoons of the cooled filling over the lower half of the round. Be sure to leave about a 1/2-inch border around the edge so that you have room to seal it closed. Try not to overfill, as that can make the patty harder to fold and it may leak while baking. Now use the parchment to help fold the dough over the filling into a half-moon shape. This makes it easier to lift and fold the dough without it cracking or sticking. Once it's folded, gently press the edges together to seal them closed. You can use your fingers at first and then crimp the edges with a fork if you'd like a cleaner finish. If any spots look a little dry and don't want to stick, just press them together slowly and firmly. Repeat this process until all the patties are assembled. Once all the patties are assembled, refrigerate them for about 10 minutes before baking. This helps firm them up and hold their shape for the best results. Just before the patties go into the oven, we're going to brush on a light egg yolk wash. This gives them that beautiful golden color on top without needing any extra ingredients. Just use a thin layer and try not to brush too heavily over the edges to prevent burning. If you'd like, you can also poke 1 or 2 small vent holes on top so that the steam can escape while they bake. This helps keep the patties sealed and looking neat. To apply the yolk, I'm using a natural boar bristle pastry brush with a beechwood handle. Carefully peel away the parchment and place each patty flat onto the baking sheet, leaving a little space between them. Then brush the tops with a thin, even layer of egg yolk. If at any time the dough starts to stick to the parchment, that means the dough has warmed up too fast. Just stick it back in the fridge for about 2 minutes and that'll harden up and you'll be able to peel it away easily. Quick question for you. If you were making these, what would you put in the filling besides beef? Would you go with something like chicken, pork, or maybe even a seafood version? Let me know in the comments because I'd love to try some of your ideas. Now they're ready for the oven. We'll bake these at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 to 26 minutes or until the crust is set and lightly golden. Once they're done, allow the patties to rest for about 10 minutes before serving. And here we have our golden carnivore beef patties ready to eat. They baked up beautifully and hold their shape really well. This is exactly the kind of meal prep recipe that makes busy days so much easier. As I cut into one of the patties, you can see the firm outer crust with a soft and moist beef filling inside. These are great to enjoy right away, or you can store them in the fridge or freezer for later. To reheat, warm them in the oven at 325 degrees for about 8 minutes, or heat them in a lightly greased skillet over medium heat for 3 to 5 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy these carnivore beef patties and give them a try for your meal prep. If you do make them, let me know how they turn out, and I'll see you again soon with the next recipe.